Have you ever walked away from someone feeling exhausted, even though you barely spoke? Your body tight, your mind foggy, your spirit heavy. But you can't explain why. That wasn't just a bad vibe. That was psychological. That was energetic. That was real. Some people don't take your money. They take something far more precious. Your peace, your presence, your inner fire. They leave you questioning yourself, apologizing for things you didn't do, exhausted from conversations that never had depth. You're not crazy. You're not too sensitive. Some people are wired to take, and they feed on the very energy that makes you whole. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most misunderstood truths of modern relationships: why you feel so drained around certain people. We'll unpack the psychology of energy vampires, who they are, why they do what they do, how they impact empaths and givers, and most importantly, how you can protect your peace without becoming cold or disconnected. This isn't just spiritual talk. This is science. This is emotional intelligence. And this is your reminder that it's okay to step back, to draw lines, and to stop bleeding energy for people who refuse to take responsibility for their own emotional mess. Before we go deep into this message, comment below which part of the world are you watching from. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the MentalBite channel, and press the bell icon so you never miss a word of encouragement. This video is dedicated to Sarah from London. Thank you for being part of this growing community of mindful thinkers. Let's begin by clearing something up. An energy vampire isn't just someone who talks too much, or someone who's having a hard time. It's deeper than that. Energy vampires are individuals, sometimes even people you love, who unconsciously extract your emotional energy to stabilize themselves. They're not always toxic on purpose. Sometimes they're wounded. But wounds that go unexamined become weapons. And when those weapons are emotional, they don't leave bruises, they leave burnout. They often come in subtle forms: the chronic victim who's always hurting but never healing, the attention seeker who hijacks every moment to make it about them, the drama dependent who needs chaos to feel alive, the sweet manipulator who masks control with concern. This is what psychologists call emotional contagion, when someone's inner state transfers into your nervous system without a word. You walk away feeling anxious, fatigued, or low, even though nothing happened on the surface. It's not their words, it's their presence. It's the pull on your empathy, your listening, your attention. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." But what if your thoughts are being hijacked by someone else's chaos? Not everyone feels energy the same way, but some feel everything. Empaths are not just kind or sensitive. They are wired differently. Their nervous systems are tuned like a violin, resonating with the emotions of those around them. It's not imagination. It's biology. It's the mirror neuron system in action. When an empath walks into a room, they don't just notice what's happening. They absorb it. The tension in someone's shoulders becomes their own. The sadness in someone's eyes lingers in their chest for hours. The anxiety of another becomes a cloud over their clarity. And when an energy vampire steps in, the empath becomes an unconscious sponge. Over time, this has consequences. Brain fog: the empath starts forgetting things, struggling to focus, not because they're lazy, but because their brain is overloaded from processing everyone else's emotions. Emotional exhaustion: they feel tired even after a full night's sleep. Their energy isn't being restored because it's being spent in survival mode. Anxiety spikes: after interactions with certain people, they feel agitated, unsettled, like something is wrong, but they can't quite name it. Guilt: the worst symptom. The empath starts to feel guilty for setting boundaries, for wanting space, for protecting their own energy. This is where modern psychology meets ancient wisdom. The Stoics taught, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke. Marcus Aurelius, But what happens when you've been taught to prioritize peace at your own expense? Empaths often grow up being praised for their emotional labor. They're the peacemakers, the listeners, the ones who understand without being told. But this praise creates a hidden identity. My value is in how much I can carry for others. And slowly, they lose track of what's theirs and what isn't. One moment, they're having a peaceful day. The next, they're spiraling, carrying someone else's storm in their chest. This isn't weakness. It's emotional enmeshment. And energy vampires, whether consciously or not, seek out this trait. They don't look for people with boundaries. They look for open doors. And here's the harsh truth. The empath becomes the perfect supply. A silent well of validation. Someone who rarely says no, who always gives the benefit of the doubt, who feels guilty walking away. But here's the wisdom they must learn: you are not responsible for everyone you understand. You can have compassion without carrying. You can listen without absorbing. You can love without losing yourself. As Seneca wrote, you must live for yourself before you can live for another. Self-abandonment is not empathy. It's erosion. If your giving leaves you empty, it's no longer love. It's sacrifice. And sacrifice, without reciprocity, becomes slow self-destruction. Not all energy vampires wear the same mask. Some are obvious. Others are so subtle, it takes years before you realize you've been slowly drained, like a leak beneath the surface of your life. But when you step back, you begin to see patterns, repeated emotional imbalances disguised as personality quirks or just how they are. Here are the 5 core archetypes of energy vampires, the ones psychology, philosophy, and experience all seem to agree on. 1. The victim, always suffering, never seeking solutions. They show up with their shoulders slumped, eyes heavy, and heart open. But behind the performance is a refusal to take ownership. They relive their traumas like a favorite song on repeat. No matter what advice you offer, no matter how much you care, nothing changes. They drain you not through aggression, but through emotional dependency. They need your sympathy to validate their story. They need your presence to avoid their solitude. They need your strength so they can stay weak. And if you ever pull away, you're accused of being cold. As Epictetus said, it is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments concerning them. But the victim doesn't want to change their judgment. They want to be right about how wrong they've been. 2. The narcissist, charming on the outside, hollow on the inside. The narcissist is not always loud or arrogant. Sometimes they appear spiritual, successful, even generous. Until you try to set a boundary. Then the mask slips. They crave admiration. They feed off control. Your help is not appreciated. It's expected. And when it's not given, you're punished. Psychologists call this narcissistic supply. Your attention, approval, and time become the fuel for their inflated self-image. To them, your no is not a boundary, it's a betrayal. And here's the trap: they don't just drain you, they confuse you. One day they're warm, the next cold. This inconsistency creates what researchers call trauma bonding, where the highs and lows of their affection mimic addiction. Seneca warned us, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you are capable of improving. With narcissists, there is no mutual improvement, only emotional taxation. 3. The passive, aggressive, subtle, quiet, corrosive. They rarely attack you outright. Instead, they weaponize tone, silence, sarcasm, a compliment with a sting, a joke with a message, forgetting that feels intentional. They drain you not through chaos, but through confusion. You leave conversations second, guessing yourself. Did I overreact? Maybe I'm just too sensitive. This is called gaslighting light, not the full blaze, but enough to make you doubt your intuition, enough to silence your gut. The Stoics valued clarity and honesty above all. Passive aggression erodes both. It creates a relationship where you're always guessing, and therefore, always off balance. Remember this: healthy people don't leave you wondering what you did wrong. 4. The talk. Zilla, they talk, and talk, and talk. But they never really say anything. The talkzilla is the never-ending monologue. They don't ask how you're doing. They don't pause for reflection. They just download their thoughts onto you like a data dump. And here's the thing, they're not trying to hurt you, but they have no awareness of the space they consume. For empaths and deep listeners, this is suffocating. Over time, your role becomes one-dimensional, the silent witness. You become the ear, never the voice, and slowly, your presence in the relationship disappears. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, but he must persuade me." The talkzilla never listens long enough to be persuaded. 5. The spiritual vampire. This one hides behind enlightenment. They say all the right things. They quote sages, speak of energies, offer guidance, but underneath their wisdom is a subtle control. They use their spiritual language to silence discomfort, to invalidate your feelings, to place themselves in a position of superiority. Everything happens for a reason. Becomes a way to dismiss your pain. You're just not vibrating high enough. Becomes a way to deflect responsibility. True spirituality liberates. False spirituality manipulates. As Seneca wrote, religion is regarded by the common people as true, by the wise as false, and by the rulers as useful. Be wary of those who use spiritual truths to avoid emotional accountability. These 5 archetypes are not just characters in other people's stories. Sometimes they're chapters in our own. But the key is recognition. You don't need to judge them harshly. You don't need to save them. But you do need to understand repeated emotional depletion is not normal. And once you see the pattern, you have a choice, because knowing who drains you is the first step to healing. There's an almost eerie quality to the way some people seem to drain our energy, like an invisible force leeching vitality from the room. But this isn't just a poetic idea or superstition. It's grounded in psychology, history, and even philosophy. Let's explore some fascinating facts that reveal how deep and real this phenomenon truly is. The term psychic vampire didn't come from modern pop culture or folklore alone. It has roots in early 20th century occultism and was later studied by renowned thinkers like Carl Jung. Jung described something called emotional projection, a process where one person unconsciously transfers their own emotions onto another, often creating a psychic pull that drains emotional energy. The occultists spoke of entities that feed off human energy, but psychology translated this into interpersonal dynamics. This intersection between the mystical and the scientific shows us that energy vampirism isn't just metaphorical. It's a deeply human pattern that has been observed for centuries. Psychologists call it emotional contagion. The idea that emotions can transfer from one person to another almost like a virus. When you spend time with someone negative or anxious, your nervous system literally mirrors their state. Your brain's mirror neurons fire in response, making you feel what they feel, sometimes even more intensely than they do themselves. This explains why, after being around certain people, you feel inexplicably tired, anxious, or foggy. It's your brain processing their unresolved emotional storms. Marcus Aurelius observed this long ago in different words. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil. Recognizing that others' negativity is not your burden is key to self-preservation. Research on toxic relationships shows a distinct pattern. Energy vampires don't reveal their true nature right away. Instead, they start with charm, kindness, and warmth. This early, honeymoon phase creates trust and lowers your defenses. Then, gradually, they push boundaries, guilt-tripping you, manipulating your emotions, demanding more attention and control. It's a slow erosion of your autonomy, often masked by intermittent affection or apologies. This mirrors the Stoic practice of vigilance. Epictetus taught, keep your will to your own self. Be clear about your boundaries before anyone tries to cross them. Energy vampires force us to sharpen our awareness and protect our sovereignty. More recent studies connect prolonged exposure to toxic or emotionally draining people with physical health decline. Stress from these interactions triggers cortisol release, the body's fight or flight hormone, in excess. Over time, this suppresses immune function, making you more susceptible to illness. Stoicism reminds us of the mind-body connection. A disturbed mind disturbs the body. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." In this case, craving approval or engagement from energy vampires impoverishes your health. Why do energy vampires often target empaths and sensitive souls? Because these individuals are wired to absorb and reflect emotional energy deeply. Their natural empathy makes them prime targets, both for genuine connection and for exploitation. But here lies a paradox. The very gift that makes empaths beautiful can be weaponized against them. Modern psychology encourages empaths to cultivate boundaries, not to harden their hearts, but to protect their vitality. The Stoics practiced a similar form of emotional resilience, not detachment from humanity, but discipline of desire and reaction. These curious facts aren't meant to scare you. They're meant to empower you. Because once you understand the science and philosophy behind energy vampires, you begin to see your interactions through a clearer lens. You recognize that your exhaustion is not weakness. It's a signal, a call to action. And as Marcus Aurelius urged, reject your sense of injury and the injury itself disappears. Reject the drain, guard your spirit fiercely. Sometimes energy vampires aren't obvious. They don't come dressed in drama or loud complaints. Instead, they blend into the background, their drain almost invisible until you feel it deeply inside. Recognizing these subtle drains is a skill, a kind of emotional literacy, that can save you years of wasted energy. So how do you spot them? How do you know if someone is quietly stealing your vitality without outright demanding it? Ask yourself these simple but powerful questions after any interaction. Do I feel clearer or more confused? After talking to this person, is your mind sharper or clouded? Is your emotional landscape more ordered or swirling with doubt and anxiety? If clarity feels like a luxury you lose, beware. When your thoughts feel tangled or heavy after being with someone, that mental fog is a warning sign. Your energy is being siphoned. Do I feel seen or invisible? Are you recognized for who you are, your values, your boundaries, your needs? Or do you feel like a ghost in the conversation, unheard, dismissed, or overlooked? Energy vampires often create a one-way street. Your empathy flows out, their acknowledgement rarely flows back. If you feel invisible, your soul's light dims. That's not coincidence. That's drain. Do I feel energized or heavy? This one might be the simplest and hardest to admit. After you leave their presence, do you walk lighter or weighed down? Do you feel uplifted, hopeful, or depleted and exhausted? Some people are like a breath of fresh air. Others are a thick fog. Your energy is your currency. If you spend it and don't get change, it's time to rethink. Am I more anxious, guilty, or defensive? Energy vampires don't always attack openly. Sometimes they chip away at your confidence, nudging guilt and stirring self-doubt. Do you find yourself apologizing more, doubting your decisions, walking on eggshells? If your emotional equilibrium shifts after contact, it's not just you. It's a drain. Is this relationship balanced or one-sided? Healthy relationships have ebb and flow. Both parties give and receive, support and ask for help in turn. When you're always the giver of time, advice, emotional labor, and rarely the receiver, the imbalance signals a vampire dynamic. Stoicism teaches us to seek harmony, not sacrifice. Seneca said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." If someone constantly takes without giving, they're not improving your life. A moment of reflection: not every interaction will feel perfect. We all have bad days. But when these questions yield more negatives than positives consistently, your intuition is sounding an alarm. Remember Epictetus: if someone does wrong, it's because he's mistaken about what is good and evil. This reminds us to separate the person's flaws from our own responsibility. You cannot control their nature, but you can control your response. Spotting the drain early is the first step to preserving your peace. Protecting your energy doesn't mean cutting everyone off or becoming cold. It means cultivating boundaries so your kindness isn't mistaken for an open door to endless depletion. Stoicism reminds us that we don't have to be harsh to be firm. As Marcus Aurelius said, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. We protect ourselves not by retaliation, but by wise self-preservation. So how do you shield your energy when faced with emotional vampires, without turning into someone you don't want to be? Name the pattern. Awareness is the root of all change. Start by simply noticing how you feel after interactions. I notice I always feel anxious after I talk to this person. Put words to the pattern out loud or in a journal. When you name the drain, you remove its power to confuse or control you. You move from unconscious reaction to conscious choice. Limit exposure, not compassion. Boundaries don't mean cutting off kindness. Instead, choose when and how much time to spend with draining people. You might say, I care about you, but I need to take care of myself too. Like a gardener pruning a plant, sometimes you must trim relationships to allow your own growth. Remember Seneca's wisdoms. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Not everyone needs your full energy all the time. Create energetic closure sometimes, even after you step away physically. The drain lingers, a shadow on your mind and spirit. You can create rituals to reset yourself. Take deep breaths, focusing on calm and grounding. Journal to process emotions and untangle thoughts. Literally wash your hands or splash cold water on your face as a symbolic cleansing. These small acts tell your nervous system that the interaction is over and your energy is yours again. Use gray rocking as a shield. This technique means becoming emotionally neutral and uninteresting to energy vampires. Respond with short, non-reactive answers. Avoid sharing personal details or showing emotional engagement. It's not cruelty, it's self-defense. When the emotional fuel dries up, the vampire moves on. Strengthen your inner fortress. Protection starts within. Daily practices: mindfulness, meditation, gratitude. Build resilience so you don't carry other people's burdens. Epictetus taught, no man is free who is not master of himself. Master your reactions and you control what energies you allow in. Real life reflection. A friend once confided she felt drained by a coworker who constantly complained and sought validation. Instead of avoiding her completely, she started limiting their conversations to work topics only and practiced deep breathing after meetings. Her anxiety dropped significantly. Her focus sharpened. She wasn't cold, but clear. Your energy is sacred. Guard it with wisdom, not walls. Sometimes, the hardest lessons come wrapped in love and obligation. A friend of mine once shared how her sister was an energy vampire. Not malicious, but unknowingly draining. Every call left her anxious and exhausted, yet she kept answering. She felt guilty for feeling this way. After all, she loved her sister. One day she told me, I love her, but I can't bleed out for her anymore. That simple truth was a turning point. She started setting gentle boundaries, limiting calls, holding space without fixing every problem, and prioritizing her own well-being. The anxiety lifted almost immediately. What changed? She stopped confusing love with self-sacrifice. This is the wisdom at the heart of modern stoicism. Love others, yes, but never at the cost of your own soul. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Help when it uplifts and grows both parties. Walk away when it drains and destroys. Remember, energy vampires thrive on your kindness without limits. But your kindness must have boundaries. Before we wrap up, ask yourself, who in your life is draining your spirit? How will you protect your energy starting today? You're not alone in this journey. We're all learning to guard our hearts and minds. Have you ever felt drained after being around someone and didn't know why? Drop a comment to share your experience. Tag a friend who's always giving, but rarely refilling their own cup. They need to hear this. And if you want a part 2, diving deeper into how empaths attract energy vampires, let me know below. Your energy is your most valuable currency. Spend it wisely, protect it fiercely. Thank you for watching Mental Bite. Until next time, be kind to yourself first.